Okay, time to respond to what I call controlled opposition. This is Russel Brand talking to the critical drinker. And the reason why critical drinker is so popular right now is because he will not make a proper stand, right? He's not principled. Now, we'll get into this and we'll talk about, well, they're talking about, this feminist Hollywood that is shitting on men, and they're going to avoid that, right? So they talk about creativity. This is a derailment of the problem that's going on.
Drinker.
I think that's wildly wrong, because that metaphor you just gave me would have at least been entertaining, unlike this movie. I think we are definitely stuck in a rut as a culture when it comes to just relying on the past and just like digging up old ideas, like you say.
This is nonsense. What's happening is the feminists are dragging up the past franchises that men loved, and they're wrecking them one by one. They're not supposed to create something new. What they're creating is hate propaganda, and they use what's already there. So, see, this guy is misframing it already.
Bringing back old characters, old actors, and just kind of humiliating them on screen and trying to use them.
Okay, exactly. So he knows what's going on. Humiliate them on screen. They're humiliating male characters, right? So it has nothing to do with creativity. Matter of fact, creativity may not be the problem, but they can be creative in how they humiliate the male characters, right?
As this weird springboard to launch like a new generation of characters, but they're never any good. They're always unlikable idiots who just...
No, they're not idiots. They're misandric, and they're not failing at making characters that people love. They are successful at making characters that get under men's skin, right? So, I mean, this guy has all kinds of subs, and he's talking to Russel Brand. See, this is controlled opposition.
Bore people to tears, and that's the fundamental.
For him to get popular means the YouTube algorithm has to like him. And the reason why the YouTube algorithm likes this critical drinking guy is because he's a part of their scheme. He helps feminists. He doesn't hurt them.
Problem. We've lost the ability to create new, innovative stuff. What we do now is just reiterate the things that have been done before. And you can apply it to movies, TV shows, music, like anything. Like we're just recycling the same things we've done so many times already. It's such a sad.
But this is a separate problem to the man hatred. I do admit that they're doing too much of it post 2000, but this is not what men really have an issue with. But they can notice neither of these two can voice the actual problem.
Bad thing to look back on. Like generations from now, they're going to look back on this time and just think of it as the time when everyone just lost their imagination. They lost their spirit of creativity.
It's very interesting that you take it to something as essential as the spirit of creativity itself. I've got young...
Yeah, misframe it and derail it. That's right. I don't find it interesting. I find it pathetic.
Daughters, they're 5 and 6. Their favorite band is the Spice Girls. Like, we listen to the Spice Girls, and then like some other kids were getting dropped off at the school, like similar age. They were listening to the Spice Girls. There doesn't even something in the culture which I think at the time I would have certainly regarded as a sort of a commodity, even though it had a great deal of spirit. And there's aspects of the Spice Girls that I like, details that I certainly won't be going into right now. What I'd like to say is that it's odd that even something that's commercial, we're not talking about like Joan Jett, we're talking about the Spice Girls, even like those kind of commodities aren't being replaced. And also with like Glastonbury, Elton John being the sort of closing act, it makes you wonder, well, where's it going to go? Now, do you think this is because of economics? Do you think it's because of technology? For example, it's been sort of oft stated that there isn't...
So what does the misandry that we see in the culture now have to do with technology? Nothing. Other than the technology allowing it to spread, right? It gives a bigger voice to these man haters. And also, but the silencing of men's voices That is not due to the technology. That is due to the misandry again, right? The voices we used to hear on the internet are being silenced now, the men's voices, right? When really they should be expanded.
A new raft of movie stars coming through anymore? Like, is that because of the culture? Is that because of technology? And of course, I know those two things are inextricably linked, but what do you put it down to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last movie star that we have still active really now that's relevant is Tom Cruise, and he's got Mission Impossible coming out soon. That's probably going to do really well this summer. Top Gun Maverick did great last year.
You mean these old franchises? So why is this guy, Critical Drinker, bragging up these remakes if he has an issue with creativity, right? Because these rehashes are male friendly. So this isn't about a lack of creativity to him, right?
But yeah, like there's a problem now in movies, particularly where we don't have movie stars anymore. We have characters that people are excited to see. So it particularly with comic book movies, with all this superhero stuff, it'll be a case of, hey, we're going to go and see the new Captain America movie, or we're going to see the new Thor movie. We don't care about the actor that's playing him, really. It's just,
he's full of shit. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Because people refuse, let's say, to go to the Pirates of the Caribbean. They want Johnny Depp there. And, Iron Man was liked because of Downey Jr., right? No one wants to see someone else in the Iron Man suit. So he's just patently wrong about this, right? I mean, he mentioned Tom Cruise, right? People want to see their favorite actors. He's just wrong about this.
like the character that we're going to see. And so that then doesn't translate into a star who can sell movies, who can get people to go to the movie theater and see his latest film. Back when probably you and I were kids, the dominant forces at the box office were like, oh, I'm going to go and see the latest Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I'm going to see the latest Stallone movie, the latest Bruce Willis movie. All people like that, they were stars that could sell films just on their star power. We don't have that anymore.
But why is that? It's because the new group that they're bringing out, they're not meant to be stars. They're merely attack dogs, right? They're merely attack dogs to vilify and demonize men. And so they're interchangeable, right? They just have to be female and young. Usually they're white, in spite of all the talk about non-racism, but they can be of any race anyway.
And it's the same problem with films in general. We don't want to take the risk now of inventing new things because, one, movies are massively expensive, and so they don't want to take the risk of investing $200-300 million on something that's completely unproven. And so all they'll do is say, well, what's a surefire hit? Well, I don't know. Star Wars used to be popular. Let's do that. Indiana Jones was popular.
Yeah, but those franchises were absolutely wrecked by feminist indoctrination, right? Incursion. They didn't fail because they're just rehashes, and he knows it.
Or let's do that. Let's just keep recycling the things that older people remember. And two, we don't have the talented writers with.
Again, this isn't about older people remembering something. It's an attack on men, so they're going systematically from the past to the present. They'll destroy everything, right? He's got it all wrong. He's got the motivation all wrong.
Really interesting life experiences that they can translate into scripts. And so they don't have the ability to create new things that are really...
No. This has nothing to do with life experiences. This is a propaganda hate movement, feminism. It's got a hold of the Hollywood scene now, and they're doing exactly what they're doing. It's not about experience. It's propaganda, right?
Really interesting and cool.
It seems like Mark Hamill has almost been trying to publicly say that he don't like what the franchise has done to the character of.
This is awesome. Thank you, Russell. Yeah, it's like Mark Hamill almost wants to say it, but he can never say it. Why doesn't? Well, because he's a coward. He's a moral coward. Mark could come out and be honest, but he rather be dishonest. He doesn't want to say what the problem is, just like you two.
Of Luke Skywalker, that he personally feels offended and affronted by it. Sometimes it seems to me that you're driven.
Right. He was personally affronted by the attack on that wonderful heroic character, right, that he played. Had nothing to do with, being lack of creativity and being stale, right?
By a kind of a love of narrative and story, and almost like Joseph Campbell like ideas of how a hero should function and what a story should do. I've got a few things I want to run by you. Like, I used to think, it's like a little hypothesis of mine, that American movie stars somehow embody how they regard, how that nation in particular, and let's face it, it's still the nation that defines our planet, like how it sees itself at a particular time. Like when it was Schwarzenegger and Stallone, it was a kind of rebooted 1980s America with heft and, and overt masculinity. Adam Sandler, who I did a movie with actually, and who I think is a really interesting and brilliant performer and comic, and he, like, at a time when we were starting to learn, for example, that there weren't actually weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, Adam Sandler.
This is what he's talking about is neither here nor there to what's going on at all.
Had this kind of shucks, I didn't mean it, like kind of mentality that aligns neatly with an America that's trying its best and erring sometimes. Now perhaps what we have is an America that doesn't know what it's trying to sell itself anymore.
Complete misframing. It's not like America doesn't know what it's doing. These feminists that have control of the entertainment industry know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they want, and they're doing it. So can you see how dishonest these guys are? There's no way they don't know.
Trying to present a kind of ethical and moral face to the world while clearly being backed by commodity. As you say, the motivation behind these IPs and these franchise movies is no one's willing to take a risk. Matt Damon says like that, you'd never get a Good Will Hunting type movies no more because no one will back a $30 million movie like that. They need to have IP behind them.
Nonsense. I mean, they would do it because they have star power. Robin Williams was at his peak, so people would go to see Robin Williams. But also, Good Will Hunting was a woman-worshipping film. So, I mean, that's only one step better than the feminist propaganda. That film made me puke.
We marry together the idea that you don't want movies all to be big, buff, white movie stars. You want diversity. You want good, like as a father of daughters, I want good, strong female character.
Not me. I don't give a shit. Why was it important to want that? Women don't lack any status. They don't lose status by being the helpless damsel. That's the thing. They don't have to succeed in real life, so they don't need it in fiction, right? It's that simple. If everyone was a damsel in distress fictionally, wouldn't affect girls' state of mind ever. Because in real life, that's exactly what they do. They get in trouble. They don't become strong people. They run to men. That's a fact. It happens every time. That's human nature, Brand. I don't see any point in saying to girls you can do anything when they can't do anything. I'm not about feeding a bunch of lies.
But I want strong female characters in movies, right? I do, for my girls. I want them to watch films and not always to be, it's just guys and blokes. And, I want there to be diversity. But how do you marry that? What do you think is the concession?
Well, you know yourself that Ellen Ripley was made what? In the late 70s. So they existed. They're not going to be not written. a matter of fact, that Aliens movie, Ellen Ripley, was written as a male character originally. And so when you see it, you see a woman acting as a man. So if you want strong female characters, what you're really seeing is you want women who are men.
That should be made to make movies more, for want of a better word, more diverse. Where do you stand on that, mate?
Well, it's interesting points you've made there, because like when you talk about the stars of their different eras, like the 70s was like De Niro, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, like the interesting character actors. You know, the 80s was the big buff muscle men. It was the time of like American confidence. We're going to kick ass. We're going to dominate. We're going to do awesome. The 90s, it moved into like more, ambiguous, like slightly more vulnerable heroes. The 2000s was very much reflective of the war on terror, so there was a lot of military-themed stuff. There was a lot of thrillers. There was a lot of secret agent things going on. And then, you look at now, there's nothing. I literally just said there ain't no movie stars because, like, the country doesn't.
Again, you're wrong. There are still movie stars. If there wasn't, Johnny Depp wouldn't have gotten so much support as he did. Of course, there are still no movie stars, right?
Even know what it is now. It's in a conflict of identity. So I think it's a self-evident point of like it doesn't even know what it wants to be anymore. So that's kind of really.
Yeah, these feminists know exactly what they want to be. They want to be man haters. They are, and that's exactly what they're doing, right? So there's no confusion. It's only not even you guys are really confused. This is dishonesty, period.
Sad to see, because we always, as a Brit, I always looked up to America as like the model of the world. Like this is the country that leads us, the free world.
Really? You think America is the great model? It's going under as we speak. It's corporate run. Is that the model you want for British Isles?
But yeah, when it comes to marrying what you talked about there, like the rather than just having straight white guys as like the movie stars, how do we include people of different genders, ethnicities, all that stuff? I guess what I would say, hey, we did it 20, 30, 40 years ago. We just didn't make such a big deal out of it like we have to do now. And that's the thing that annoys people. That's the thing that turns people off. When you make the identity of the main character, the main actor, the sole focus of everything, people are just like, well, why are you making such a big deal of this? Why should I care about this? They used to just do it without having to make a big deal out of it. When we talk about the great female characters in cinema, we have characters like Ellen Ripley. She was an alien from the 70s.
Thank you for admitting that. Yeah, right. But again, she was well liked by guys. Girls rarely ever talk about her. It's not their thing, right?
That's before I was even born.
Like I say, the girls don't give a shit about having a female hero. They don't.
They got this right. You've got Sarah Connor from the 80s. Again, fantastic. Fantastic.
Again, yeah, that's something that guys appreciate. Guys are the ones that watched Terminator, not the girls. It's men who look for women, the fictional woman who will be a hero. The girls don't. They don't give a shit.
Action hero, fantastic flawed character, really interesting. You had Trinity from the Matrix from the 90s. Like they got all this stuff right. They just didn't feel the need to make that the sole focus of these characters. They were interesting characters first and foremost. Whether they were female, whether they were women, whether they were black, white, whatever, it didn't matter. That the main focus was.
This is real gibberish. Let's get beyond this. What do we got here? Character arc. This is a long video. I don't know if I'll critique the whole thing.
Struggle to do it. They have them lots of things that get in their way. Like they fall down, they pick themselves up, they eventually overcome. That is just the fundamental essence of what makes you like a character and identify with them. It's so easy. It shouldn't even need to be said. But what they lack with these modern characters that they try to do is that they're not willing to take that step of have them fail and be vulnerable and have flaws and weaknesses.
Well, duh. Their purpose is to shit on the male characters. That's why they can't be flawed. It's like, I'm better than you in every way. This is stupid talk. Guys talk like this all the time. Let's see, mainstream media. Let's get into this.
I mean, honestly, you'd think it would be a no-brainer. Like, I think we can all come to the same conclusion that being sold into trafficking is a terrible thing and should absolutely be stopped at any cost. And so a movie about trying, a main hero who's trying to prevent that, is trying to rescue children from the most horrifying situations imaginable.
I did a video on this, guys. He's talking about The Sound of Freedom. That is a man-hating film that he's supporting. Who's doing the trafficking, right? It's other men. And what are they doing? They're pedo smearing it. Right. That's a callous, pathetic thing to do. It's an attack on men by other men. Okay?
Well, wow, that should be the sort of thing that you should really have no qualms about supporting. And the fact
I do have qualms about supporting anti-male propaganda because I'm a man. Okay, so let's see. No connection. We'll just skim through this because it's a lot of horseshit.
About that.
I mean, it's twofold, really. Like, first of all, the movie doesn't try to make any connections to some, ring that's like operating at the top levels of American society or anything like that. It's very much like this is stuff that's going on in Colombia, Mexico, that sort of thing. It's just a guy trying to rescue kids from a hostile situation.
More talk on anti-male propaganda film. Let's see, we got authenticity.
Well, I mean, put it this way, like when I work here making my videos that I do.
Oh, by the way, drinker, any man who likes The Sound of Freedom is a tradcon and he hates his fellow man. Okay.
It's me in my office at home. I got 0% overheads. I spend $0 on anything. And so, but I get millions of views because people are interested to hear what I've got to say.
You get millions of views because you're, what is that a term I used earlier? Controlled opposition. YouTube loves guys like you because you misframe things and distract from what's actually going on. Okay.
And that's the thing that they hate, where you've got like news networks and you've got studios with like dozens, if not hundreds of employees. They've got huge expenses that they go to. And they get like a fraction of the viewership that people like us get because people just don't care about them anymore because they know how fake they are. I've heard it said before.
It's more than just that they're fake, right? The media has been taken over completely by feminists and they attack men. That's the real issue, right? Okay, geez. Anything be worth hearing from these guys? Okay, honesty. I'm not even going to look at that because these guys aren't that. Cluster bombs.
Yeah, humane cluster bombs. I like that idea. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I sometimes I'll watch the trailer for a movie. I'll give my thoughts on it and like make some predictions about what the film's going to be like. Sometimes I'm right on most of them.
Okay, not worried about that. Progressive politics. They're feminist politics. And they're not progressive, they're regressive. So let's hear what he has to say.
There's the initial emotional reaction of like, hey, wow, this movie doesn't fucking hate me because I'm like a straight white man. That's nice. Like, that's
Thanks you for admitting it, but you're only partially right. This movie hates me because I'm a man. Doesn't care about your orientation, and it doesn't care about your race. These guys fall for it purposely, right? It's divide and conquer, everyone. What's your name again? I'm trying to remember it. Critical drinker. Yeah, you're right up here. Russel Brand. It's a divide and conquer strategy that feminists employ that you losers fall for every time.
That's a change of pace. But, you try to be, you try to break the movie down like into its component parts and say, well, okay, this one I enjoyed. Why did I enjoy it? Like, was the plot good? Were the characters good? Whatever. So you try to be a bit more objective about it. But it's also possible, this is an interesting discussion about, it's possible for something to be woke by the normal standards, but also be good if it's well written. The example.
Yeah, but you still reject it out of principle, right? like the Barbie movie. A lot of people actually like the Barbie movie. I reject it because it is anti-me. It's a hate film, right? So I reject it. So this is another thing. These guys are always trying to placate and offer an olive branch to women who don't like them. You know, this silly, oh, but if it's really made well, if this hate propaganda is really made well, I don't mind it. And I'm here to say I have principles, and I do. I will reject it out of hand. Okay, female role models. I don't know if I can put you guys through any more of this, but okay. Female role models.
As well, if you could.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, if you're looking for movies with good female role models, like, damn, where do I begin? Like, you've got the Terminator movies, I suppose. Like we mentioned before, you've got
again, these models you're talking about, like if you're talking about Terminator, they are heroic women, right? Again, that appeals to men. Men are the ones who want equality amongst the sexes because that would raise us and it would lower women. I'm going to repeat that. Equality amongst the sexes would mean men would gain and women would lose, right? So women aren't interested in that. Okay, forget that. Indiana Jones, geniuses versus more. Oh my God, you're a moron. Let's see. Gaming adaptation, David Lynch films, Radell, conclusion. I'm not going to listen to any more of this horseshit because it's just going to be saying the same thing over and over again. These guys are going to dance and prance away, not around, but away from the fact that feminists control our entertainment industry, that they're attacking men, and that is the issue. And this is the issue they're trying to stay away from. And this is a begging video right here. This live stream is a begging one where they're saying, please, ladies, be good to us. Can't you see the world would be better if you didn't shit on us? They said, this guy doesn't play that. Homie, don't play that. I'm better than you, critical drinker, and I'm better than Russel Brand. And so are the men in the PMC. We'll end it here.